Savannah is a city known for its beauty, draped in moss and wrapped in charm. But behind this beauty lies something far more chilling. What makes Savannah so haunted? Is it the lives cut short by yellow fever? The restless souls wandering inside an historic inn? Or the forgotten graves beneath cemeteries? Some say it's just stories. Others believe it's something far more real. Tonight we explore the history and the mystery of Haunted Savannah. In the heart of the hostess city sits a place unlike any other, Colonial Park Cemetery. Today it's a peaceful resting place, shaded by oaks draped in Spanish moss. But nearly 2 centuries ago, this ground became something far darker.
So Colonial Park Cemetery was founded in 1750. It's the second oldest Christian burial ground in the historic district and downtown. The original cemetery is paved over. It's just south of what is now Wright Square. So it used to go a few blocks further in every direction. And they have documented over 10,000 burials and less than 600 standing headstones. So many of those roads around the cemetery are sitting right over top of bodies.
In 1820, an invisible killer swept through Savannah. It was yellow fever.
There is a historical marker in that cemetery dedicated to the great yellow fever epidemic of 1820. And it says that nearly 700 died in that year. A lot of people get it wrong and think that means there's a mass grave right there. And what it means is there's nearly 700 buried throughout the cemetery from that yellow fever epidemic.
Within weeks, hundreds were dead. The death toll so great, many were buried in mass graves. Their names and even their exact burial locations lost to time.
I've been investigating the paranormal for over 25 years because of all the relocating and disturbing of the graves. That tends to instigate more paranormal activity, because anytime you're disturbing a grave, whether it's by just relocating or you're desecrating it, supposedly like Sherman's troops did, then you're going to get a lot of paranormal activity out there.
In the early 1800s, one fear loomed large: being buried alive.
One of the last symptoms was a coma-like state, so people could have been prematurely declared dead.
Some say that's why dead ringer bells were used during the yellow fever epidemic, strings tied to a hand underground connected to a bell above. But was anyone ever saved by the bell?
It turns out dead ringer was just exactly as it sounds. It meant an exact replica, and saved by the bell was a term that actually originated from boxing. When the bell rang, somebody was saved by the bell. But it's become such an urban legend that people treat that as fact. The term wake actually comes from, they would lay people out for a few days after their death, usually in the living room, and somebody would sit with the dead, and it was to make sure they didn't wake up. So that's where that term wake comes from. So that's where it originated. Now they do it so people can say their final goodbyes.
This cemetery would face yet another wave of disturbance during the Civil War.
Now Sherman came through in 1860. Many of his soldiers camped out at the old cemetery, pitching their tents there, breaking into family crypts to stay warm. Crypts were robbed of gold, jewelry, and valuables, and they did change a lot of headstones with chisels. So if you go out there, you'll see that people lived to be hundreds of years old. A lot of the dates don't make sense, and that was Sherman's troops.
Today, visitors report chilling encounters, cold drafts on sweltering summer days, whispers in the quiet dawn, and shadowy figures that vanish when approached.
I do know out in Colonial Park, there's been several sightings of men who are duelists out there. And I have not witnessed that, but I have witnessed shadows and apparitions in Colonial Park. Usually between 3 and 4 a.m. when I typically see a lot of that stuff there.
And he's not alone. Others who have spent time inside the cemetery after dark say they've experienced things they can't explain.
We were out there around 2 a.m. recording, doing audio recording in the middle of the cemetery. And I just said, "Can you tell us your name?" hoping for a response. And we get a very clear response of a little girl that says Kate. She sounds like she's 5 to 6 years of age. We're in the center of the cemetery at 2 a.m. There's nobody around, and there's no little kids running around, at least not living. So that was really creepy.
Are these restless spirits forever bound to the cemetery, or is it the memory of Savannah's darkest days still echoing through time? Colonial Park isn't the only place where Savannah's past still lingers. Just a few blocks away, another mystery awaits, this time not beneath the ground, but above our heads. In Johnson Square, the moss won't grow. Why? To find the answers, we have to go back almost 300 years.
It was laid out in 1733, the year they landed here. So that was the very first part of Oglethorpe's city plan, too, as he built back, which is interesting. And if you go down Bull from City Hall and walk south, you're walking like a living timeline, because the further south you get, the newer it gets.
In 1733, General James Oglethorpe founded Savannah, designing it around 24 perfect squares.
The way the city was laid out, that was the very first square. That and Wright Square, which is the old hanging square.
Johnson Square became the first and the grandest, named for South Carolina Governor Robert Johnson. It was the beating heart of a new colony.
It is the oldest square in Savannah.
Merchants bartered, soldiers shared whispers of war, and beneath these same trees, Savannah's story began.
Historically, in 1776, they did read a copy of the Declaration of Independence in Johnson Square.
But like much of Savannah, beauty hides shadows beneath the surface. And for generations, locals have noticed something strange. In a city where Spanish moss hangs heavy on every branch, here it refuses to grow.
There's a couple of different stories. Nathaniel Greene supposedly hated Spanish moss, and that's the reason that Spanish moss won't grow anywhere in that square.
The Revolutionary War Major, General Nathaniel Greene, died just outside of Savannah in 1786. He was first buried in Colonial Park Cemetery. During the Civil War, when Sherman's troops desecrated graves, his remains vanished.
The remains of Nathaniel Greene were later recovered in what is known as the Graham Vault, and then they buried what was left of him and his remains in 1901 beneath the Nathaniel Greene Monument, right there in the middle of Johnson Square.
But were they really his remains?
Do we really know it was Nathaniel Greene's remains? You know, because at that point it had been so many years. But from what they can gather, they do believe that it was the remains of Nathaniel Greene that somehow ended up in the Graham Vault.
Every day, hundreds pass through Johnson Square. Few notice what's missing overhead.
It is one of the coolest areas, breeze-wise, even in the heat of the summer. So we do feel like it's more so a lot of that wind coming through that blows it out of the trees. But it's interesting that the remains of Nathaniel Greene, the Revolutionary War hero, what was left of him is buried beneath that monument right there in the center of Johnson Square.
By science, we're told that that is probably not the case. Each square kind of develops its own microclimate. And so it could be a number of things such as airflow, pollution. So my best guess would be that due to the tall buildings, it's an airflow issue. Spanish moss is actually not a moss at all. It's a name that was given by European settlers, but it's actually a bromeliad, which is an air plant. So Spanish moss gets all of its nutrients and resources from the air.
Science offers one story, but Savannah always seems to have another.
Johnson Square is one of the most haunted because there was a lot of hangings in that square. And they say a lot of those spirits are still there and they're not happy. But I've never had a negative spirit in Johnson Square. And I've never witnessed anything there. I have brought the spirit box to Nathaniel Greene's monument, but I've never captured anything, unfortunately. But you know, it's like fishing. If you enjoy doing it, you keep doing it till eventually you get a bite or you catch something.
I've like gone through some of the ghost tours, and it is pretty interesting to hear their take. I do know that a lot of people feel the presence of supernatural beings and have experienced some, you know, abnormal occurrences specifically in this square. And it is kind of thought to be the spirit of General Nathaniel Greene.
Science says airflow. Historians say coincidence. But on a still night when the air turns cold, maybe something else keeps the moss away.
I truly believe science has an answer for everything we experience on this earth. But that being said, I think it's definitely fun to kind of imagine and dive deep into our history and kind of experience life for ourselves. So who am I to say there's no ghosts? But no, I personally think it's just kind of airflow.
So what's really behind the mystery of Johnson Square? Is it science, legend, or something else that still lingers beneath those trees? Savannah is a city built on history, and the secrets aren't just confined to its squares. Next, we take you inside the Savannah Theater, where history and mystery collide. The Savannah Theater has been entertaining audiences for more than 200 years, but some say the performers never really left. Tonight, we're taking you inside one of America's oldest theaters, where history and the paranormal take center stage.
Boat?
There is no boat.
So Savannah Theater is built in 1818, and one of the stories is that they're the oldest theater in America. They are the oldest continuously operating, but you do have the Walnut Street Theater in Philadelphia, built 9 years earlier in 1809. So Savannah Theater is still at least the second oldest theater in the whole United States.
What I think makes it interesting is all the actors that have come and gone there and how old it is.
In its early years, the theater hosted some of the most famous performers of the 19th century, including legendary British actress Fanny Kimball, who graced its stage in the 1830s.
Back in the old days, in the 1800s, you didn't have television, and so they needed entertainment. So that theater was probably the highlight of Savannah.
But this grand theater's journey hasn't always been so glamorous. Throughout its history, the Savannah Theater has burned down not once, but 3 times, in 1827, 1906, and again in 1948.
First fire was September of 1906, and during that fire, we did have a young actress die in the fire. And there's been a lot of stories about her being seen on stage. Employees would have their name called out backstage in a female voice. They'd turn around, nobody'd be there. And a lot of people that were patrons would see her appear at the stage left exit door in a white dress. She'd go right towards the door and then disappear. In 1948, the second fire that happened, and there's a little boy named Benjamin that died in the fire. It happened up on the 2nd floor. People were rushing out of the theater and the poor kid got trampled. So a lot of people have seen him. He'd turn the lights on and off. He'd push the chairs in and out, and she'd see the chairs move by themselves. So he's been known to haunt the upstairs balcony too.
Today, it stands as a beautiful example of 1940s Art Deco design, restored to its mid-century elegance with gleaming neon lights that welcome guests each night. But along with this rich history come stories of the unexplained. For more than 200 years, there have been reports of ghostly encounters, shadowy figures spotted in the balcony, unexplained footsteps echoing backstage, and chilling voices calling out in the darkness.
There's a female we got on recording right by the stage. You can hear her singing like she's warming up. Lasts about 14 seconds, completely clear. We got an apparition of a white apparition peeking around the corner at the stage left exit door that disappears in the doorway. And that's the same area where they had seen this lady appear and disappear. So we've personally had a lot of experiences, but consider the 2 deaths in the theater and the fact it's such an old history piece of Savannah, I think it holds a lot of energy there.
Today, paranormal enthusiasts can join a haunted theater tour. Guests are armed with real ghost hunting equipment, EMF detectors, spirit boxes, infrared thermometers, even dowsing rods, tools that allow them to connect directly with whatever or whoever still lingers here. The Savannah Theater's owner and tour guide share eerie stories of local legends revealing the theater's haunted history and first-hand accounts of encounters that still baffle investigators to this day.
When we were doing renovations here, I had a couple moments because we did the work ourselves, and I was in the theater late, one night, and I just kind of felt this weird kind of feeling, like a cold feeling, and all the hair kind of stood up on the the back of my neck, and then I hear this kind of a weird screeching sound, like a high-pitched sound. So I dropped my tools, and I mean, it was terrifying. I can't even explain it. It was just the feeling I had. I didn't see anything. I just felt it.
I'm telling you, it's talking to me.
And a lot of times they have something to say, but they don't know how to communicate. And luckily, the people that are there know how to communicate with the spirits, and they've got a lot to say, and they're not done, and they're ready to put on a show for you.
So what's really behind these mysterious sightings? One thing is for certain, in a place where the show must go on, and it has for 2 centuries, some say it never really ends. Just blocks away, another story is waiting to be told. The River Street Inn. Are there secrets hidden behind these walls? Next, we step inside to uncover the unknown. Savannah is a city where history and mystery walk hand in hand. Nowhere is that truer than along the riverfront. The River Street Inn has stood for more than 2 centuries. Tonight we hear from a longtime employee, 25 years inside those walls, who has seen and heard things she just can't explain, and was there when paranormal investigators came searching for answers.
Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Mary. So I'm so happy I got to catch up with you today after your first year here at the River Street Inn. Of course, I've been here 25 years, but I wanted to know what you think about our beautiful hotel after your first year.
Well, I think the history of this hotel is really special, and it's what drew me here. What I've learned from you since I've been here, this was actually built in 1798. The first 2 floors of this building were constructed of ballast stone. Some of those ballast stones are made of fossilized coral, which was used to weigh down the ships after they offloaded their wares. One of my favorite features that I just learned about, that fireplace that doesn't have a flue.
So the fireplace doesn't have a flue because there used to be where cotton was stored. So it's humid, it's damp. The smoke from the fire would actually dry out that cotton and also keep it free from pests.
Just from your perspective, what part of the hotel is the most active?
I would definitely have to say that down here at the Bootlegger Speakeasy is probably one of the most active areas. Had stools move, we've had the wine glasses shake, we've even had champagne flutes fly across the room. We know we have 2 spirits down here. One is a younger teenage girl, and she likes to play pranks. The other person down here is an older gentleman. His name's actually Gregory. And Gregory kind of has a sad story. He was drowned in the Savannah River. He was murdered. And to cover it up, then they actually brought him in here and hung him up on one of these beams.
Historic hotels can actually be somewhat of a natural crossroads. You've got guests, paranormal investigators, and staff all telling very similar stories. With all of that happening in layers of over 200 years, you kind of have to think there's something present there that stays behind, whether that's an energy or a spirit. I know that you've been involved in some of the paranormal investigations here.
Yeah.
Have you ever had them stay overnight?
Oh, yeah. We've had plenty of paranormal investigators on the night. As a matter of fact, in 2023, I was involved with the Savannah Paranormal Society, and they had an EVP machine that registered things, voices that they heard, footsteps that they heard, whispers, that kind of thing. So they got to investigate up on the 5th floor and also on the 2nd floor. And on the 2nd floor, I was actually with their psychic who said that there was a paranormal vortex down the end. And it was
My first time hearing that.
Yeah.
I'm super excited that we're going to start hosting some of our own weekly ghost tours so that folks can come and experience firsthand the history of America's most haunted city, which is Savannah.
I've heard my name called twice in the hotel. I've been tapped on the shoulder, I've been brushed.
Sitting in my office, I get knocks on the door, and I jump up pretty quickly to get the door, and there's no one there.
I remember working here years ago, there was a wedding party in the front lobby, and there was a little boy that was running around. Well, after the wedding party left, this little boy was still there. And so the front desk agent got scared that somebody forgot their child. And so she ran out from front desk, and when she got back out into the lobby, he wasn't there.
From the whispers inside the River Street Inn to the echoes that still linger in the alleys beyond it, our journey continues along Savannah's riverfront. Next, we step into Factor's Walk, where history and hauntings collide. And the city's oldest stones still speak to those willing to listen. Savannah's riverfront is known for its beauty, but beneath the rugged cobblestone streets lies one of the city's oldest and eeriest places. This is Factor's Walk. Once hub to a bustling cotton trade, brought in merchants from all over the South, it's also home to stories of tragedy, mystery, and spirits. And some will tell you still walk these alleyways today.
Factor's Walk is an interesting area. The whole riverfront and all those old cotton warehouses, Factor's Walk is pretty much the oldest section of town.
It's here that Savannah's story began.
It's where the colonists first landed, right there on the river. Oglethorpe set up his tent the first night he arrived, right on the bluff, right across the street from what is now Moon River Brewery area.
These cobblestone paths date back nearly 3 centuries. They were built by hand by enslaved people and workers who helped lay the foundation of a new colony.
Factor's Walk, it earned its name because of the cotton factors that worked in the cotton warehouses. Mainly on the upper floors, slaves would have been kept in the lower floors. You'll see a lot of old bridges and kind of like little, almost like a labyrinth of all these like bridges and connecting things on Factor's Walk. And a lot of this ballast came over from some of the English ships. They would place these rocks in the bottom of ships to balance out the cargo coming into the New World.
But behind the history are stories far more darker.
There were stories of Shanghaiing where people were being forced into working into ships.
One story documented in the Georgia Encyclopedia tells the story of an 8-year-old boy named William Golden.
In 1876, an 8-year-old kid named William Golding was walking down the riverfront with his friend, and this lady is on the ship with her husband, the captain, and the captain points at William Golding and says, "I want him." So she grabs him and throws him under the hull of the ship. He didn't come back to Savannah till he was in his 50s. He said the last thing he remembered leaving, as he's leaving the city, was seeing the lighthouse on Tybee Island. And in his 50s, he was sick at the old Candler Hospital. It used to be a sailor's hospital. And during the last week of his life, he told the nurse about how he had been shanghaied as a young boy and later made a living throughout his career working on ships and worked his way up. So that right there is proof that people were being forced into working on these ships. So I think you got a lot of tragic history and hauntings from that too.
From colonial landings to cotton wealth to captive souls lost at sea, Factor's Walk holds more than history. Some say it holds the spirits of those who never left.
Factor's Walk is extremely haunted. All along Factor's Walk, especially in the back alley, you get a feeling a lot of times when you walk down there that you're not by yourself.
Savannah, a city where history and mystery intertwine, where every stone and every shadow tells a story. Tonight we've uncovered legends, perhaps real stories that still echo through time. We want to thank some incredible locations for opening their doors and letting us step into Savannah's haunted past. For WJCL 22 News, I'm Greg Coy, wishing you a safe and spooky night.